Imagine losing a city's worth of money in a single transaction. That's what happened in the case of the Dutch tulip mania. In the 17th century, the Netherlands fell under the spell of a peculiar obsession. It was a time when the humble tulip, a flower native to the Middle East, had become a symbol of wealth and prestige. As the demand for exotic tulips grew, so did their price, leading to what is now known as the Dutch tulip mania. What started as a harmless fascination quickly spiraled into an economic frenzy. The tulip, once an unassuming flower, transformed into a high-stakes commodity. Bulb prices soared to unprecedented heights. At the peak of the mania, a single tulip bulb could sell for more than 10 times the annual income of a skilled craftsman. The Dutch, entranced by the allure of quick riches, were willing to gamble fortunes on these precious bulbs. But as with any economic bubble, the tulip market was destined to burst. The high prices could not be sustained, and in February of 1637, the market abruptly collapsed. Tulip bulb contract prices plummeted, leaving traders and investors with enormous losses. The fallout was catastrophic, sending shockwaves through the Dutch economy. Many were left in financial ruin. Families who had invested their life savings were now destitute. The economic impact was so severe that it plunged the Dutch Republic, then one of the world's leading economic powerhouses, into a period of recession. The Dutch tulip mania serves as a stark reminder of the perils of speculative bubbles. It's a story of greed, mass hysteria, and the devastating consequences of misjudgment. It was a harsh lesson in the unpredictability and volatility of markets. And so, the Dutch learned the hard way that what goes up must come down. The collapse of the tulip market was a harsh lesson in economics, a mistake that cost the Dutch economy dearly. The price of misjudgment, it seems, can indeed be as high as the price of a tulip in full bloom. Moving forward to the 20th century, let us sail into a tale of an unsinkable ship that sank. The Titanic, a name synonymous with disaster, was a marvel of early 20th century engineering. This luxurious behemoth, built by the prestigious White Star Line, was touted as the unsinkable ship. The cost of constructing this floating palace was a staggering $7.5 million, an astronomical sum for the time. The Titanic embarked on its maiden voyage from Southampton to New York City in April 1912, carrying over 2,200 individuals from all walks of life. The wealthy rubbed shoulders with the less fortunate, all aboard the ship of dreams. But the dream turned into a nightmare when the Titanic, moving at high speed through a field of ice, struck an iceberg. The iceberg tore through the ship's hull, causing the supposedly unsinkable Titanic to begin sinking. In just over 2 hours, the Titanic disappeared beneath the frigid waters of the North Atlantic, taking with it more than 1,500 lives. The loss was immeasurable, not only in terms of human life but also in financial terms. The White Star Line, reeling from the disaster, faced financial ruin. The company had only insured the Titanic for half its value, leaving them to shoulder the loss of millions of dollars. The sinking of the Titanic also caused a massive public outcry, leading to changes in maritime safety laws and procedures, an expense borne by the entire maritime industry. The Titanic disaster is a chilling reminder of the cost of overconfidence and the price of ignoring potential risks. It stands as one of history's most expensive mistakes, a tragedy that led to the loss of countless lives and the downfall of a once thriving company. The Titanic disaster was not only a human tragedy but also an expensive mistake that sent ripples through the maritime industry. From the depths of the ocean, we now ascend to the heights of the sky with the Space Shuttle Challenger. In 1986, our world watched in horror as the Challenger, a symbol of human ambition and technological prowess, exploded just 73 seconds after launch. The disaster claimed the lives of 7 brave souls who dared to reach for the stars and left a lasting scar on our collective consciousness. The Challenger was more than just a spacecraft. It was a testament to our species' inherent desire to explore, to push our boundaries, and to learn. The cost of the mission was staggering, even by NASA's standards. It was estimated at around $1.7 billion. But the real cost, the true devastation, lay in the human loss. 7 astronauts, including Krista McAuliffe, who was set to be the first teacher in space, perished in the catastrophe. The financial impact on NASA was immense. In the aftermath of the disaster, operations were suspended for nearly 3 years as the agency reeled from the tragedy. The investigation into the cause of the explosion revealed a heartbreaking reality. The disaster could have been prevented. A faulty O-ring seal on one of the rocket boosters was identified as the cause, and it was a flaw that some engineers had warned about. The Challenger disaster shook the world and the space program to its core. It sparked a re-evaluation of NASA's procedures and protocols, and it forever changed the way we approach space exploration. The tragedy served as a stark reminder of the high price we pay for pushing the boundaries of our knowledge and capabilities. It's impossible to quantify the full impact of the Challenger disaster. The financial cost, while significant, pales in comparison to the human loss. It was a mistake that cost 7 lives, billions of dollars, and shook our faith in space exploration. The Challenger disaster was a costly mistake that changed the course of space exploration. It was a painful lesson in the importance of caution, thoroughness, and the value of human life in our quest to reach the stars. Next, we delve into a more recent event that shook the world, the financial crisis of 2008. In the early years of the 21st century, the United States was riding high on a housing bubble. Home prices were skyrocketing, and banks were all too eager to lend money to anyone with a pulse. But like all bubbles, this one was destined to burst. In 2008, the bubble did just that, triggering a financial crisis of epic proportions. As home prices plummeted, millions found themselves with mortgages they couldn't afford. The domino effect was swift and brutal. The housing market crash led to a full-blown financial meltdown. But this wasn't just a crisis for homeowners. Major financial institutions had invested heavily in these risky mortgages, thinking them a sure bet. When the bubble burst, these institutions found themselves on the brink of collapse. Household names such as Lehman Brothers, a titan of Wall Street, filed for bankruptcy. Others, like Bear Stearns and Merrill Lynch, were bought out at fire sale prices. As these financial giants toppled, the global economic fallout was immense. The crisis spread like wildfire, crossing oceans and continents. Countries around the world felt the shockwaves, from Europe to Asia and beyond. The global economy was on the brink of a recession, the likes of which hadn't been seen since the Great Depression. The human cost was staggering. Millions of people lost their jobs, their homes, their life savings. The crisis exposed a system riddled with greed and short-sightedness, where the pursuit of quick profits overshadowed the need for stability and long-term growth. It served as a harsh reminder that when the financial sector fails, it's the ordinary people who often pay the price. In the aftermath, governments worldwide scrambled to prevent a complete financial collapse. Bailouts and stimulus packages were rolled out, amounting to trillions of dollars. The crisis sparked a global conversation about financial regulations and the need for greater oversight. The 2008 financial crisis was a costly mistake that affected economies worldwide. The lessons learned from this crisis continue to shape the world's financial landscape even today, reminding us of the price we pay when greed and recklessness go unchecked. From tulip mania to the financial crisis of 2008, we've seen how mistakes can be incredibly costly. Each event in history we've explored today is a stark reminder of the potential consequences of misjudgment. These are not just stories of financial loss, but of human error and its wide-ranging impact. The Titanic Tragedy, a poignant example of overconfidence and underpreparation, led to the loss of over 1,500 lives. The unsinkable ship's maiden voyage ended in disaster because of the failure to provide enough lifeboats and to heed iceberg warnings. The result was one of the most infamous maritime disasters in history, a human catastrophe that also incurred a massive financial toll. Meanwhile, the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster underlines the danger of disregarding expert advice. The launch decision, made despite engineers' warnings about the O-ring's vulnerability in cold weather, resulted in the loss of 7 astronauts' lives and a blow to the nation's space program. The cost was not just the $2 billion spent on the shuttle, but the invaluable loss of human life and trust. The financial crisis of 2008, a complex web of risky investments, lax regulation, and unchecked greed, plunged the world into the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. The fallout was global, affecting millions of people and costing economies trillions of dollars. It was a grim testament to the potential devastation of financial mismanagement. Each of these events carries a heavy price tag, but their true cost lies in their impact on human lives and societies. They remind us that behind every mistake, there's a lesson to be learned. They underscore the importance of careful planning, listening to expert advice, and remaining vigilant against overconfidence. These expensive mistakes remind us of the importance of foresight, careful planning, and the need to learn from history to avoid repeating costly errors. As we look to the future, let's remember the past, not to dwell on our missteps, but to ensure we don't stumble down the same path.